I want to read you something. I want to read you something. Marketers, even senior marketing academics, like to say that there can be no laws concerned with marketing. These people argue that consumers are far too individual and unpredictable. Research has shown that this is utter nonsense. This ill-founded belief stops academics from doing their job and searching for law-like patterns in buying behavior and marketing effects. That's interesting. Utter nonsense. And that's what the marketing professor with decades of research behind him, who is looking directly at his own industry, calls out. He doesn't do it gently, he doesn't do it diplomatically. And that is why we're here. Welcome to Series 3. We're going over the book, How Brands Grow by Byron Sharp. And I'll tell you this much, this one's going to make you uncomfortable before it makes you better. So, who is Byron Sharp? Byron Sharp is not a marketing consultant like Sabri Subri or anybody of the sort. He's not a guru. He's not selling a course. He's not somewhere in a tank top with a hat and a big beard. He's a professor and director of the Ehrenberg-Bass Institute for Marketing Science at the University of South Australia. He and his team have spent decades studying real purchase data across thousands of brands and dozens of categories all over the world. Not just surveys, not just focus groups, not just opinions. He's focused on the actual buying behavior at scale and over time. And what they found is that the marketing industry, the entire field, has been operating on a set of assumptions that the data does not support. And that is the book. That is what we're going to unpack together over the next 12 episodes. So let's talk about what you have been told about marketing. And let me describe the marketing approach that most CrossFit gym owners are running right now. You identify an ideal member or avatar, you target them specifically, you build loyalty with the people who are already in your gym, you differentiate yourself from every other box in your marketing by finding your unique angle, and you focus on a niche and own it. 100%, none of that is necessarily wrong. It is just the foundation from which other data and other practices may be able to help you excel. So that all sets you in the right direction. But when you come to a point when all of that is right and you haven't got the result you're looking for, you try a different ad. You change the copy. You boost a post. You guess. You check. You hope something sticks. But that latter part is what we're going to discuss. Because that's not a marketing strategy. That's a blind squirrel trying to find a nut. And it's like taking a pulse on a market and calling it a plan. And the reason that most gym owners are stuck in that cycle is not because they're not working hard enough. It's because no one ever showed them the patterns underneath the noise. And that is what Sharp is trying to articulate. His central argument is this, that brands do not grow the way marketers think that they grow. The unconventional wisdom says, build deep loyalty, target your ideal customer, differentiate yourself, own your niche. And what Sharp's data says, that almost none of that is how the brand growth works. Let me stop right here because this is important to differentiate these two things. All of those things that we've talked about, targeting, avatars, differentiation, niche, all of that is all part of your positioning. That is how you find your person and you attack that specific segment. That is really more of an advertisement game. Putting out an ad is meant to get someone's attention. Marketing is meant to survey the market so you understand them properly. Branding is all about communication. So think of it more as targeting is how do we communicate with that person? Branding is what are we communicating to them about us? And we need to be able to discuss how our advertising affects our branding. How does our messaging affect our reputation? How is what we are talking to and who we're talking to affecting how we are perceived in the market? And that is what Sharp is trying to show us. Brands grow by reaching more people, not necessarily deeper people. And by that, I do mean the depth of which we target that person, but more people within our position. The buyers who drive your growth are not your most loyal members. And that should make sense, all right? Because your most loyal members you have. If you have what you have, you're not growing. You want to be able to get more people. And the people who are new are not going to be your most loyal members. They are the people who barely think about you at all. Those are the light buyers, the occasional visitors, the people who are at the edge of your market. And the way you reach them is not about narrowing your message. It's about showing up consistently, broadly, memorably, so that when they are finally ready to make the decision and commit, your gym is the first thing that comes to mind. Now, that is a fundamentally different way of thinking about your marketing ecosystem, but it's backed by decades of empirical research across thousands of real brands. Sharp calls this mental availability. Now, we are going to spend the next 12 episodes breaking what mental availability means so that you can leverage it for your business. So this is why I chose this book for Series 3. We spent Series 1 talking about the marketing system, which really focused on the targeting, the positioning, how we use the systems, when we use these systems, getting the flywheel going. That is all your advertisement repertoire, and you need to keep those things intact. We got to Series 2 by talking about human nature, because as we communicate with different humans, we need to be able to understand how they move, how they think, and be able to take an objective look at some of the behaviors that drive buyers' behavior. Series 3, we're focusing on our brand. What is the message that we are communicating about ourselves, and how do we get scientific about it? Sharp gives us the empirical foundation that most gym owners never have access to. Not because the research is hidden, but because nobody translated it into a language that a CrossFit gym owner running a 2-coach, 3-coach operation in such a competitive market can actually use. And that is what we're going to do here. Chapter by chapter, finding by finding, episode by episode. And by the time we're done, you're going to understand your own brand in a way that most marketing agencies never will. So in this book, Sharp presents 9 assumptions that most marketers hold on to. I'm going to pull this up from the book. Give me 1 second. There it is. And those are: differentiating our brand is a vital marketing task. Loyalty metrics reflect the strength, not the size of the brand. Customer retention is cheaper than acquisition. Price promotions boost penetration, not loyalty. Who we compete with depends on the positioning of our brand image. Mass marketing is dead and is no longer competitive. Buyers have a special reason to buy our brand. Our consumers are a distinctive type of person, and 20% of our heaviest customers deliver at least 80% of our sales. We're going to go through every single one of those. I know I held several of these before reading this book, and some of them are true. Some of them just need a little bit of a tweaking. So understand as you're going through, this is really a graduate level discussion about marketing and branding. We're not just talking about, hey, what ad do I run? What does this ad need to say? What stage in the campaign do I need to run what type of ad? This is really getting into, okay, we have our people. How do we either keep those people, or how do we affect the people on the fringes so that we can get them to stay, or we can get more out of them? Those are the questions that we need to be thinking about throughout this book. It's not going to be a marketing based, hey, put this on Instagram, do this thing, say this at the beginning of your video. That's not what we're talking about at all. We're talking about what you do in your business that helps attract people, keep people, and take those people who are on the fringe of being in or being out and getting them to stay. That's what we'll be doing in this book, How Brands Grow. And it's my job to make sure that you're not winging it when it's over. This will be 12 chapters, 12 episodes, and one of the most important books ever written about how brands grow. Subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. And if your gym feels like you're guessing and checking right now, you can always visit us at enochmarketing.com. There's always a better way to do branding and marketing and human nature. Each one of these series is going to build on the next. So by the time you work through all these videos, you'll know exactly what to do to make your business more productive. So, with all that being said, we're not talking marketing. Marketing was phase 1. We're not talking human nature. Human nature was phase 2. We're talking branding specifically. Not advertisement, branding. Let's get into it.